How's it going, YouTube? Oxy here, and welcome back. So we all love a good acquisition talk, whether it's Sony or Microsoft buying up your favorite developer, and until we get to the point where all gaming companies are owned by a select few bigger companies, and then at the end where they all get bought by McDonald's or something. But yeah, today we're talking about Square Enix and their recent, they sold off uh, Crystal Dynamics, Eidos Montreal, like, and their IPs. So we're talking like Tomb Raider, Deus Ex, Legacy of Kain. They sold off these companies and all their franchises to Embracer Group, Swedish company. They own a good amount of companies now for $300 million, which sounds like a lot, but when you remember that companies have been making these big billions of dollars purchases, and literally the amount of stuff that Embracer Group is getting for 300 million, it's like the finesse of the century. Like, I don't know, it's good and bad. It's good for these companies being sold, but bad for Square Enix and what they're ultimately heading to. So again, they are selling off Crystal Dynamics and Eidos Montreal and a few others. It was like Square Enix Montreal or something, a couple companies and all their IPs. So again, as I mentioned, like Tomb Raider, Deus Ex, Legacy of Kain, Thief, and the list goes on. But yeah, they're selling all of this. Like, they're gonna own, Embracer Group will own them. And yeah, I guess like the fact that they're being sold so cheap just is like a red flag for Square Enix, because to put it bluntly, they never really could figure out or get behind their Western studios, like all of these, for example. Like the recent Tomb Raiders did good. The Deus Ex, what was it, Human Revolution? The last one sold well, but they never, like Square Enix would have unrealistic expectations, like the game would have to sell, I'm just throwing numbers out there, like 20 million copies to be a success. Like, yeah, and just stories you hear that like, that they had unrealistic expectations. They weren't very like helpful working with them. And then of course we can get to the Marvel stuff, like Crystal Dynamics, developed Marvel's Avengers, and we know the shit show that game turned out to be. And yeah, it's sad because it's like you would think a big IP would like help, or like you think with the big IP it's like, oh, they have potential to do great things. I mean, Crystal Dynamics is a great studio, again. They developed like the recent Tomb Raider, like the reboot stuff. Right, like, Tomb Raider, then Rise and Shadow of the Tomb Raider. Great games. I own them all. Definitely, those are definitely some of my, like, check them out, right? Like, I gotta play them. Good games, good studio, just bad management, bad direction. Because, Square Enix, their whole focus right now is really just online live service games. Reason being, again, why Marvel's Avengers was a live service. They have their games like Outriders or Outsiders. That one, another live service. Babylon's Fall was a recent one that came out, PlayStation exclusive. Huge flop. That game is doing horribly. And like, yeah, it's like, I don't know. Square, what they're focusing on isn't looking good. And the reason they sold off these IPs, these companies, is because of NFTs, believe it or not. So they can get further, funds to be able to invest into the metaverse and NFTs, which, of course, if you haven't kept up, a very polarizing topic, right? Some people like it, some people don't. I'm pretty indifferent about it. I think they're a fad, like they'll die out. As opposed to like Bitcoin or like cryptocurrencies, I think they have more longevity than NFTs. But yeah, that's like one of their main reasonings was like, oh, to get funding for it. And I don't know, it's just sad to see because, again, Square, they're capable of great things. I mean, Final Fantasy, we've all played at least one. I mean, 7, classic. The remake looks sick. You know, they're coming out with Final Fantasy 16. Like, Square is a part of a lot of people's childhoods, but it's sad to see, like, how these once great companies and what they become. Similar to, like, EA, right? EA used to make really good games back in the day. They used to be pretty creative and innovative, but now it's like it's all about like their sports type, like FIFA and like Ultimate Team, and you know, like nickel and diming you out of every single penny. It's sad to see. But on the bright side, Embracer Group, the Swedish company, and they own pretty substantial other companies like THQ Nordic, Deep Silver, Saber Interactive. Yes, that's right. The developers making Evil Dead the game. Embracer owns them. So yeah, Gearbox, you know, people that make Borderlands and that sort of thing, they own them. And of course now they're going to own Crystal Dynamics, Eidos, them, and their IPs. And they even mentioned that they're looking forward to investing in these franchises. And hey, can we take a second? Like, Embracer Group, please give us a Legacy of Kain. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I love the series. It's really cool. Most of you probably know Soul Reaver, which is part of the Legacy of Kain. Of course, it was the first game on the, Blood Omen on the original PlayStation. Then we had Soul Reaver. Then it was, I believe it was Blood Omen 2, right? Or Soul Reaver 2, I think. Yeah, it was like Soul Reaver 1 and 2. Blood Omen 2, and then the last game, Legacy of Kain Defiance, right? 5 games, and yeah, like, I'd love to see them return. Square, the only thing they did with that series really was like, what was the name? Nosgoth, I think, in like 2016, 17, maybe 15, around that time. It was like a multiplayer only game set in the Legacy of Kain universe, but it didn't do well. Most of you probably had never heard of it. And yeah, it's exciting, the potential of what these companies are going to be able to do. Again, Crystal Dynamics is capable of great things. Of course, they have confirmed they're working on a new Tomb Raider on Unreal Engine 5. So I know that's going to look beautiful. Probably be a great game as well. And also, Crystal Dynamics is co-developing Perfect Dark, with the initiative on Microsoft's side. They're co-developing, which they still will, because again, these contracts happened before this acquisition, so, they have to honor them. And yeah, I mean, hey, hopefully, I don't know, me being an Xbox gamer, hopefully Embracer and Xbox have a good relationship going forward, and we can see more collaborations or more things like that. But yeah, bring back Legacy of Kain, Soul Reaver, great series. One of the earliest examples of like games having like great stories. I highly recommend the series. Really good. And yeah, guys, I mean, that's really it. Just mentioning that Embracer Group is buying all these companies for dirt cheap, and Square, sad to say, but they've turned to the dark side of NFTs. But let me know what you think. Are you excited for the potential of some of these more dormant franchises coming back and, given the proper funding and freedom or trust to do what they do best, right? Like, just let them make good games, because at the end of the day, that's what it's all about. And making money, but, you make a good game, the money will come. If only Square Enix could get that. But yeah, guys, I make new videos every Tuesdays and Saturdays. Please be sure to like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell, all that good jazz. And as always, I've been your host, Oxy. Take care.